Why the market has decoupled, we can look at a couple of things. One, fundamentals seem to have grown far too fast and to too great an extent, and they outpace the market. Those are residential rents, retail rents, office rents. They grew very, very fast. And secondly, during this cycle, since 2010, there have been 90 million buildable square feet of development sites sold in Manhattan, south of 96th Street. Not all of that has been built, but think about the impact of all the millions of feet that have been added to the supply, adding apartment units, creating some softness in the condo market. These are the reasons I could think of why the market has decoupled. Now, this decoupling aspect is something that has happened in the past. Sometimes when we have trouble in the broader economy, it impacts very directly the investment sales market in New York. I'll go back to the early 90s, during the S&L crisis. The broader economy was really in bad shape. Value on a price per square foot basis in New York City dropped by 58% on a price per square foot basis during that time. Unbelievable. The Great Recession, 2007 to 2010, nationwide, very, very bad economy. New York City investment sales market, declining volume of sales for 3 years in a row. Average value went down 38% on a price per square foot basis. But then I'll take you to the recession in the early 2000s. During the U.S. recession in the early 2000s, real estate values in New York City went up every single year during that recession, completely decoupled. And that's something that gives me hope if we are going to go into a recession, as 38% of the economists predict that we're going to have a recession in 2021 or 22. There's a good chance that our market decouples again and is not going to be negatively impacted by a broader recession in the economy. But let's take a look at how we were actually doing in the investment sales market, and I promise I'm going to get to some good news. These are asset sales, New York City, over $10 million for Manhattan only. We can see the peak of the market clearly was in 2015. If we annualize what's occurred through the first 3 quarters of this year, we're on pace for about $18.7 billion. That pace will be down about 34% from where we were last year and about 67% from where we were at the peak of the market in 2015. So that's dollar volume. If we look at number of assets sold, we see that we're also on pace to be down about 36% from last year and almost 69% from where we were at the peak of the market. So it's very clear if you look at this chart and you say that the lights were turned off in October of 2015, these charts clearly bear out that that was indeed the case. So if we look at some dark spots that have to be overcome, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we do have some things that are concerning. Political headwinds. Clearly, when you have politicians who are driving away from New York, potentially the biggest employer in the city, that's a very negative thing. Rent regulation reform has been a very, very terrible thing for the quality of the housing stock, the quality of life for people who live in apartments in the city, really a negative thing. Tax policy, and I'm talking about both real estate tax policy. As I said, from 2007 to 2010, average property values in New York City dropped by 38%. For those of you who are owners in this room, did you see one of your real estate tax bills go down any of those years? I don't know a single owner that has seen that. So our real estate tax policy is out of control. If you look at the elimination or the marginalization of the state and local income tax deduction that was part of the tax cuts reform, that was negative for New York. Tenant demand is something that is a concern to us. You see big firms like AllianceBernstein moving their headquarters to Nashville, Carl Icahn moving his company to Miami. And if you look, a lot of these moves that companies are implementing are based on going from very high tax areas to very low tax areas. In fact, the states that don't have state income tax have some of the most robust economies in the country. JP Morgan announced they may be moving some folks out of the city. And then quality of life in the city, talking about the homelessness, the minor crimes that are no longer crimes, the anti-police sentiment that's going on. So you take all of these things into consideration and you say, wow, we have 50 months of this lackluster investment sales market in the city, all these other headwinds. What could possibly be positive things that are going on in the market today? Well, all right, now I'll get to the positive things, the bright spots in the market.